Good morning everyone. It's quite early in the morning, the wind's quite still, the sun's up and shining, and there's not a lot going on around here besides the bin wagons cleaning the streets and emptying the bins. So we're going to creep out the harbour. There's a wall over there the boat's tied to. There's a few ladders in different places on it, and like everything else around here, it dries to a muddy sandy bottom, and as long as you can deal with that, then you're in. Well, we're going out against the end of the incoming tide, so that way we don't do it too quickly, but also we're on a rising tide. And for those of you that want to know, it's a spring, and the minimum we've seen of water is 2.5 metres. The southern part of getting in and out of here is called Helvig Head, and there's a small harbour there that I think the fishing boats use, but I do know that some sailing boats go in there and use it as well, especially the deep draft versions. Boats with a draft less than 2 metres can actually go into the inner harbour and make use of the facilities and services that are in there, and the welcoming sailing club and surroundings. Watch out for all the lumps of rock that lie on the edges, and you're out straight into the Celtic Sea, where there's a bit of a wobbly wave for us. We seem to be going from one side to the other side and back again and back again. We've got that sort of frequency in the waves that you just sort of can't cancel out. I did put the mainsail up to try and bring it at midships to cancel it out, but then I thought I'm punishing the poor mainsail and I don't want to do that, so I stuck it away and left it just on the Genoa. Our destination today is Drake's Pool, which has got a good bit of history to it and is worthwhile having a look at the history of Drake's Pool. We're heading there anyway now, and it'll be some 39 nautical miles we're off to, which, if we can keep an average of 5 knots up, is going to take us the best part of 8 hours. So I really do hope that the frequency of the waves changes, otherwise I'm going to end up feeling rather drunk if I'm going all this way, going from port to starboard, from port to starboard for the rest of the day. It's not a big wave, it's probably half metre at best. It's just the frequency of it catches the boat in a perfect rock, and you've got everything else to do, like look for the pots and things like that while dealing with it. It seems to me that along this side of Ireland it's bay after bay after bay, and most of them have got an anchorage in which suits southwesterlies. But unfortunately we've had all these shores so far, so we've not been able to make use of any of these anchorages and have an early stop for whatever reason we want. So we must press on to get to our destination. I don't think it would be too rough if we did have to go into one of the anchorages, but we'll just press on. Look, Knochadoon Head. There, how did that come by its name, I wonder? The bay that's at the end of there, that has a small river down to a town called Youghal, which we might try on the way back as an anchorage. That little island there is called Capel Island, just on the, so that must be Capel Sound, but I'm not 100% sure, and that's Knochadoon Head, which means that this bay that opens up here is called Ballycotton Bay, and there's an anchorage right at the beginning of Ballycotton Bay as well, and I believe even a small fishing harbour tucked away in the corner. A safe haven from southwesterlies. This big ship out here has been shadowing us for a bit. I think I'll take a look at it on the AIS. Well, he's going about the same speed as us, so he's not in a rush to get anywhere, and he's even got the same destination as us, but we'll get there more or less low water, so he won't be able to go in. Probably he'll have to hang about outside and wait for the water to fill in before he can go in. This new bay coming up just after Ballycotton Island, that's Ballycotton Island there, bit of a gap between, another rock in the middle there, and then the fishing harbour, and then Ballycotton town itself. This westerly was going the opposite way to us. He was obviously doing well, bashing through the water as he went, and when I checked on the AIS he was doing a good 4 knots, which we had a bit of tide against him as well, which probably means he was doing at least 5 knots and cracking through the water, so I think he was doing extremely well at the time. Us on the other hand has still got this funny pitch in the wave, and Swallow keeps bouncing from port to starboard in it and won't give her up at all. I think the inclinometer says it all. It shows you the sway from one side to the other, and that's more than the boat normally heels when she's in a groove with a good reach on. I think the headland coming to an end in front of us is called Power Head, and that more or less then leads you into the beginning of Cork Harbour. And I think we should actually get out of this funny frequency of waves we've been having along the way. We're more or less on a dead run at the moment as we're starting to round this head, so at some point in the next couple of minutes I can see a jibe wanting to take place. And even with a dead run, we normally get to a bit of a surfy point, although that she won't surf. Well, this is our location at the moment. As you can see, we've got Power Head on our starboard side, and then we're into the reaches of the channel itself. Our destination, which is Drake's Pool, is just over here. And that's hopefully a lovely little anchorage, although we're led to believe there's a hell of a lot of moorings down there now, and you've really got to search to find a place to drop your hook. There's a lady called Mrs. Power in Crosshaven who's been running a shop there since the year dot. They probably named the head after her. This is Rochers Point, marks the narrowest area in the channel, or the start of the narrow area in the channel. It's all buoyed here, so you don't have any problems except ships. But if you're sailing in at low water, you don't normally get bothered by them. Right, look how the water's fallen flat. Isn't it lovely? This is definitely going to be the most enjoyable part of the sail. The wind has also seemed to fall quite flat at this moment in time, although the windmills are still flying round and there's still enough pressure in the sails to push it along at a decent pace. We keep Ram's Headland to port as we round it, and as you round it, it opens up a river called Owen River, and that's where we're heading, down that river ahead of us there. Well, as it comes into view, you know you're in the right place. There's nothing but masts, 3 meters of water, plenty of water for us, and we're at low water, creeping in with the tide, which is the best way to do it. If we hit the bottom, we won't be stuck too long. Our easterly wind's getting a little bit fickle and fluky round here, but it's still got enough push in us to give us steerage and keep us going down the river with the tide, and that's all that matters. Sailing along in Drake's footsteps. Whee! Well, there's a great big pile of marinas just ahead of me, but we're going to pass the marinas and we're going to go down the river, because it's looking like the wind's going to die tonight, and if the wind dies tonight, it'll be a lovely night at anchor down there somewhere, but we'll have to find a space first. I left Lisa at the helm while I played with the camera and run about and done a couple of other bits and pieces. It gives me a moment or two to concentrate, because I don't think you need anything other than just concentration on where you're going. When you're going in somewhere with a tide that's taking you in and you're not sure where it crosses the river, in other words, pushes you into the other vessels. So she'll have to be on the ball, while I look for a nice space that looks big enough between some boats, like that space just ahead of me there, to pick up a mooring. Well, not pick up a mooring, we're going to drop our anchor. So we'll drop our anchor just here, I think. Looks like a nice spot. Well, it was just here we met a sailor called John. We were telling him about our family history, being from Cork, and he said he'd take us to our family castle if we wanted the next day. So we went. This is our family cemetery, where we come from many years ago, and we'll end up and the monastery where the monks were, and most of all the castle, which is in ruins. But we'd like to thank you, John, for taking us, because you've absolutely made our day. The next day it was a bit bumpy, so we weighed our anchor and we got ourselves down to a marina called Salve Marina. It's right by the little town of Crosshaven, which is a really nice little town to spend a few days, and also ideal for us to nip into Cork from. So we jumped the bus into Cork and we had a look at what Cork Marina was like. Well, it's that pontoon there. And I think it's easier to stay in Crosshaven and jump the bus, which takes 45 minutes. And we found the ideal shop for Lisa to have her photograph taken outside and to end on. So from Cork, Crosshaven and Drake's Pool, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Till next time, bon voyage!